Hey, what is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to FSP, the first episode of FSP in the year 2022. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here, and anybody listening after the fact on either on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. I appreciate you guys as well. This year is getting kicked off strong with some huge news already in the gaming space. It usually happens. It seems like there's a bit of a lull for the holidays, and all of a sudden something big happens right early January, and that's no different this year as well. But first, as always, I'm joined by two amazing people here. Back with his new setup now. Back, you got a new PC, you got a new rig, you're in a different part of the house, all that stuff. Is Key. What's up, Key?
Yo, what's going on, you guys? I am very excited to be back. Like, man, December has been crazy for me, but I just miss talking games, playing games, watching trailers, reading about it. Overall, I just miss video games and being on here and be able to talk to you guys about it. So I am excited for tonight. I'm excited. What's good, chat? How y'all doing?
Dude, I'm glad you're here. In the meantime, I think I saw you on one of Boom shows as well. You made an appearance on one of Boom shows, or is that Fuzzy?
Fuzzy? Oh no, that was Fuzzy.
Yeah,
Fuzzy.
That was Fuzzy. Yeah, Fuzzy. Fuzzy's now like, yeah, that's right. Fuzzy.
He's a member.
Became an official panel member of which one was it?
Breakfast with Boom on Friday mornings.
Nice.
Yeah.
So congrats on that as well, Fuzzy. And how's it going with you, sir?
Oh, it's been amazing. This holiday was awesome. Spend time with the family. Boys got their holiday gifts and we're happy with those and stuff. And man, just some good games to play and some awesome news to start off the year. We're not even the first full weekend and it's like craziness already.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely huge news, as you said. So we got lots to talk about. I mean, but I want to approach this conversation from a little bit of a different angle because we've been talking a lot about this, and Ubisoft Plus was for those who've been living under a rock. They just announced Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox. They didn't give any details. They just said it's coming to Xbox in the future. Along with that announcement, Rainbow Six Extraction's coming to Game Pass in day one. But they did say that Ubisoft Plus is going to be a separate service from Game Pass. So over the last 2 days on some of our shows, we've been kind of discussing like, what would you pay for Game Pass Plus, Ubisoft Plus? Or do you think there needs to be a bundle? All this kind of stuff. Do you think there needs to be discounts and all these things? And I think everybody that I've talked to is in agreement that there needs to be some kind of a discount because I don't foresee people just piling on $15 subscription services on top of one another, especially ones that just have one publisher's games, right? So we'll get this out of the way real quick because I just want to know like what, and then we'll move on to what I really want to talk about with this. But I'm going to ask Key first. What would you pay for Ubisoft Plus on Xbox? Because I already know you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, right?
Right.
So that's $15. Now Ubisoft Plus gives you the Batcat, plus it gives you all of the DLC and the new Ubisoft games day one. Would you pay full price for that, or what's your max amount for both?
Honestly, I'm kind of torn in between the two, honestly.
Yeah.
And here's why, because I feel like Ubisoft has definitely gone downhill with a lot, especially with their games. So it's like Ubisoft today versus Ubisoft 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. You know, it's kind of different to me now. So that's why I'm kind of torn between the two. I wouldn't mind paying the $15 a month for it, but at the same time, right now, I feel like it'll be a waste. Right. So I guess comfortably, probably no more than $10. Probably no more than 10. And even to that, that's still.
So you'd be paying $25 for Game Pass Ultimate Plus Ubisoft Plus at that
Right.
point.
I think that's the sweet part because you still get your Xbox, Xbox Live, you still have Game Pass, and now you have this other category, Ubisoft games. So I think a $20-$25 mark would be the sweet spot. But I did make a tweet and said they should have came out with this when the PS5 and the Xbox Series dropped day one. Because if you think about it, they came out with what's that game? The Phoenix game. Actually, I think you
Immortals
played it.
Phoenix Rising, yeah. It's a good
That,
game.
so they played out that people wanted to play it. You know, that whole year you came out with Assassin's Creed. That was more so of the leading game for next gen Assassin's Creed. That's all you've seen. So that would have made a big splash.
And they
on
had
Xbox
Watch Dogs
before.
Legion as well.
And you had Watch Dogs Legion, then of course Just Dance and so forth and so forth. So it's like
they came out at launch strong, which they usually do. Last year we got Far Cry 6.
Yep. Far Cry 6.
I'm trying to think of what else hit last year.
Is Rider Republic? Is that part of
Riders
Ubisoft?
Republic? Yep.
Yeah.
Riders Republic. So you see what I'm saying? So if they would have came out the gate with this day one with the series, man, that would have been awesome. Like people would have been jumping all over it, especially for Assassin's Creed. Because like I said, people wanted to play Assassin's Creed more than anything, just to see how to show off the graphics. But today, where I know that there's not much coming out, because I'm buying Splinter Cell, so I'm flat out buying Splinter Cell. It ain't got to be on the service. I'm buying it, you know. But just today, looking at paying $15 for this service, and I already own all the games just about, and there's nothing coming out right now. I think it'll be a waste to me.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough, dude. What about you, Fuzzy? Like, what's your dollar amount that you would pay? Because I don't expect a lot of Xbox gamers are gonna ditch their Game Pass Ultimate subscription to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus. Right?
No, I'm as much as I'm a fan of Ubisoft stuff, I couldn't drop my Game Pass Ultimate subscription. So if it was a $5 add-on, I'd be perfectly fine. And it doesn't have to have all the DLC. If it has the day and date stuff, that would be awesome. If it's some of the back catalog, or if it's just the back catalog, kind of like the way EA does, and then you get like a game trial for the new stuff, I would definitely be fine with a $5 bump on my Game Pass Ultimate subscription. But the big drawback I kind of run into now, having two young boys that are into also the same type of games from Ubisoft and everything, it just, I need a family plan like yesterday type of deal at this point.
I'm with you, bro, because that, I mean, it gets up there. Like, with our situation, the kind of how we play, like we have to pay for multiple accounts, you know?
Yeah. And it's the same here, because you can game share with one, but then that doesn't include PC.
If you have more than two Xboxes and you have more than two people, you know, then it's all null and void, right?
Exactly.
So,
and I would say a $5 bump, max $10 bump, but it better have the day ones at that point. But considering I usually buy a lot of those day one, like Division, I'm buying it, although they've been kind of ignoring that IP. Ghost Recon's kind of taking a step back a bit with Breakpoint, but it's one of those that's always on my buy list, at least at worst if it's on sale, if not day one. And then you have things like Watch Dogs, which is always a day one, Far Cry, which is always a day one. So the subscription service is definitely appealing, but as somebody that's cut the cord for cable decades ago, I really don't want to have like a ton of subscriptions. Like right now, the household, it's just, well, as far as what I cover, it's Netflix and Hulu. Because my wife likes a lot of the old zombie movies. She has the Amazon Prime set up. But I don't really want to go beyond that. Like Disney is kind of like that one where it's like, all right, I'll do Disney, but we need to drop Hulu at that point type of deal. And it's not that it's like that big of a pricing difference. It's just I'm that guy that used to have all the cable channels and only watch like 15 channels. I'm not doing that anymore. It's just so much money wasted all those decades before. It's like, we need to kind of narrow things down. But
Well, that's
Yeah.
what we're in right now is the era of consolidation of these services and everything, right? Like you're starting to get bundle
Yeah.
deals, even like okay, get Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN all in one package, right? Like those kind of
Mhm.
deals, right? And
Yeah.
I think with gaming, and this is what I kind of where I wanted to take this conversation, right? Because I think it's pretty much been decided at this point. Subscriptions is the future of gaming, right?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, it is. You know, you got EA did it. You know, Xbox actually kind of started it with Xbox Live, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Then you had PlayStation dive in, then Nintendo dove in. So then you got those three base platform holders all have subscription services now. Then you have Apple diving in with Apple Arcade. You have Google diving in with their Google Play subscriptions. Then you got the big players of the publishers um, for gaming going in it, like with Xbox with Game Pass, going in and getting a lot of third party deals to fill that as well. So they're doing it differently than most others, where they're acquiring rights to games to be in their service from third party publishers. Then you also have the third party publishers that are doing their own big thing with EA. It has
Yeah.
two versions. They have the EA Play that's bundled into Game Pass, plus it's also available for I think $5, $6, something like that. Then you have the EA Play Plus or whatever it's called, where you have day one games. You have Ubisoft Plus, where you get day one games, and this is
Mhm.
going to continue. I foresee other publishers either getting together or making deals to be part of services. So that's where I want to take this, because this Ubisoft Plus is the first
Hmm.
third party publisher to put their games day one on a platform other than PC,
Yep.
right? So you're
Yeah.
getting into that dedicated console space. This is going to set some kind of precedent here, right? Is it successful? How does Xbox manage it? There's going to be how do they bundle it in? What is the future of this, and how is it going to be bundled? Because we can't sit here and expect to pay. Okay, we're going to pay $15 for the Game Pass Ultimate, then we're going to pay $15 for Square Enix, and we're going to pay $15 for Activision, then we're going to pay $15 for Ubisoft, then we're going to pay $15 for EA, then we're going to pay $15 for, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
the
But
overall, this is the future. They're going to have to figure out some models here, and this is where the
yeah,
era that we're in right now is kind of getting this all kickstarted. So where do you see it going, Key?
you know what? It's kind of scary because I guess if it really come down to it, technically they can do it like that, where you could pay different, like full price subscriptions to each one of these. I mean, they do it anyway. I mean, how many people have an Xbox and PlayStation and they're watching Hulu on there? They pay $14, $15 a month. Disney, they pay $14, $15. It's just the
Yeah.
app that you could get it on your device, but the
Mhm.
subscription you still get. So it's very possible it would suck,
Yeah.
if they do it like that, but they can. And I mean, me and my wife, we just literally sat down an hour ago, and because my middle son, he wanted Paramount, and my wife like, all right, well, there's some things I want to see on there too, so we'll check out the free trial, and we like it, we'll keep it. But me and her, we sat down, and she's like signing up for Paramount, whatever. We like, man, we literally have just about every freaking streaming service. We have the Netflix, we have Hulu, we have Disney Plus, we have now Paramount. It's like we got 5 or 6 of these, and still paying over $200 a month for cable and internet. So it sucks.
Yeah.
But I think this is just the way it's going. Like, this is where it's going, even to gaming. Like, some people might not don't want, which I don't get why, but some people might not don't want um Game Pass, but they want Ubisoft because they're hardcore Ubisoft fan. Or maybe eventually EA will, keep an eye on Ubisoft and how they're doing in sales, and maybe EA want to start dropping Madden day one, FIFA made day one, and like just take it to the next level. So I do see what they're trying to do, which is of course getting games out there. to more players, which is us, because a lot of
Mhm.
people don't want to be on the PC day one, or we buying games day one on console, when people on PC pay $15 a month, get it day one. So it's getting games out there more than what people think. I do think that it's a good thing. I just hope they don't get to the point where, like you said, now Activision got something dropping, get all the
I
Call
mean,
of
just
Duties
think
or
about all the
whatever, or
publishers. You know what I mean?
yeah, just Square Enix, it's
2K.
like 2K now, and that's the scary part right there, where everybody now come out with their own service, but you still got to pay separate prices for these.
Yeah.
Because again, that goes back to what I said. Disney doing it, Hulu doing it. You just using this platform, which is Xbox or PlayStation, to get the service off of. But it's scary, but it's exciting at the same time. Because again, how many people, let's say, let's go off of Battlefield. Let's use Battlefield as an example.
Mhm.
How many people would have been good, paying EA or whoever? I guess it would have to be through EA to get Battlefield, right?
Yeah.
So imagine people would have just paid $10 a month, get Battlefield day one. They didn't like it. They just delete it and be done with it, versus people that pay $70, $80, $90.
Right. And which is an option on PC right now, because they have that option for EA.
Correct.
Right?
And that's the thing right there. More people would have picked up Battlefield and played it, and it would have gotten more players' hands, versus people like, well, I'll wait for reviews, or I don't like the way it look or whatever. Versus if it's already part of your subscription, they like, it's there, why not? So I think it's a good thing. I'm just scared to how they're going to take this. I hope it don't get out of control.
That's one thing. Like, Fuzzy, do you think we'll see, like, okay, on PlayStation you're gonna have Square Enix Pass, on PlayStation you're gonna have Sega Pass or whatever, and then on Xbox you got Ubisoft and EA? You know what I mean? Do you think they could end up making deals in that kind of way as well? Or because for me, I don't know if that makes the most sense, but I can see it happening.
I can see it happening as well, and that's kind of the scary part. It's like, how do they work well together? Because everybody at some point is going to want their own piece of the pie, and if they see that EA is successful in Game Pass and Ubisoft is successful by itself, then a lot more of them are going to step up and say, hey, we could do that same thing. We could have another revenue stream, and not realizing if it may cannibalize other sales, or if it may cannibalize, just the I guess the user base for that game. But kind of like what Key was saying, if it's in the subscription, people are going to be willing to try it. But man, if they start drawing lines where, okay, the Square Enix Pass is only on PlayStation, and Ubisoft Plus is only on Xbox, and Sega Pass is only on Nintendo, or something like that, it's like, I think that would make the current situation even worse in comparison, where it's like, well, I like some Sega games, and I like some Square Enix games, and I like some Ubisoft games, but I don't want to buy all three systems just to get access to those particular ones. So then it's like, okay, well, Sega only releases 1 or 2 games a year that I like, so I'm fine with buying those, solo outside of a subscription. And then Square Enix, well, I play a lot of, Final Fantasy 14 online. With that, I get perks, so it might be better to get that as a subscription. And then the only other Square Enix game that is over here on like Xbox or Nintendo is Octopath. So it's like, you'd almost need like a diagram or some sort of decipher chart or something like that at that point to kind of figure out where they're all aligned. But as long as, like, if PlayStation takes a page from Xbox's book where, let's say, Spartacus allows you to roll in EA Play or Ubisoft Plus, and eventually, let's say, Ubisoft Plus becomes like an add-on to Game Pass, I think that's the better way. Sure, those companies are going to probably take a smaller chunk, but somebody like me, instead of paying $15 for each one of these subscriptions, is looking at paying the extra $5 as an add-on, I'm more willing to buy $20 in cosmetics, or I'm more willing to buy the $40 season pass or something along those lines. So there's always on the back end that you could still make money off of the subscribers or monetize those numbers based on, okay, well, if they're not buying the game full out or, you know, paying the recurring subscription, they're doing it as an add-on and they're kind of sharing the money with Microsoft or Sony or whatever, then at that point, I have more money in my pocket, which, yeah, it'd probably be better logically to just put that in the bank or investor or something like that. But as gamers, we're going to be like, you know what? That $10 skin isn't as bad as it was when I was spending $80 for the deluxe version of the game and then still had to spend the $10 to get that skin. So
Yep.
I think there's some benefits to it, but man, they really have to come to some sort of an agreement, or maybe Microsoft themselves or PlayStation themselves has to sit some of these publishers down and be like, hey, you can try it on your own, but you know, the statistics show that when it's rolled in like EA Play, hey, more people are buying, you know, their starter cards or starter packs or you know, additional skins, or they're doing like in-game money or currency for clothing items and things like that. So,
and I'm kind of honestly a little surprised that we didn't see the full suite of EA Play come to Xbox before Ubisoft Plus, because right now it's just the Backcat, the Vault, right? Which still gets updated and is part of Game Pass Ultimate, but maybe there's a reason why. Maybe eventually we will see multiple publishers have their offerings on Xbox like this, and then you create another tier that encompasses all of those.
But you know what? Do you guys think, and it's hard to say this about PlayStation, because they don't have this problem as much as Xbox, but do you guys think that they would see a bump up in Xbox Live versus the Ultimate package? Because you would still have to pay Xbox to play online with these games. But again, a lot of people don't want the Ultimate Edition because they don't care about Game Pass.
right.
So it's like, once you would somehow see a bump up in that, correct? Like PlayStation, I don't think, like, I know it was a whole thing about Fortnite. You can play Fortnite free on PlayStation, but you still gotta buy the subscription on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys think something like that will probably be an issue also?
I can kind of see Microsoft, and hopefully not in the same vein that they tried before, where they raised the price to kind of force people into Game Pass Ultimate. But I could definitely see them, you know, trying that again. Maybe not as steep of an increase where it's like $100 or $80 increase annually, but I could see them saying, okay, well, if Xbox Live was normally $60 a year retail, you could, you know, pick it up for 45 on like discount around the holidays and stuff. But let's say it was 60 normally, we might see it bump up to 75 and then have it where it's like a steady creeping up, not necessarily every year, but maybe every other year, where it kind of nudges people towards Game Pass. It's like, you know, with this increase on Live for $5 more a month, you could have access to all these games. And that, I think, would be the better approach, as opposed to that shock value approach that they pulled last time, where Live like doubled in price type of deal. But yeah, it has that potential. I try not to think about these companies, you know, having these devious plans on the back end saying, yeah, this is the way we'll get more subscribers. And, you know, there's always some bean counter at one of the companies that's like, yeah, if we do it this way, we'll increase revenue and we'll all get bonuses. And that's the guy that might have that vote to say that, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do this. And then, you know, Microsoft has to do a 180 and retract it on social media the following day or something type of deal.
Yeah. I think, man, like, so will it potentially raise Xbox Live subscribers that aren't interested in Game Pass, basically?
Right.
I think it could, but like, here's the thing. It's like, I don't know how successful Ubisoft Plus is already on PC. I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine the numbers are like that crazy. You know, I'm actually curious if they're public. I would like to know, like, how many Ubisoft Plus subscribers are there on PC? Is it like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, maybe 3 million or so? I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, cause it is interesting because I mean, even to like not too long ago, even Steam, made a statement saying they seen a huge increase in PC gaming through their service
yeah,
Valve. So it's like I don't think Ubisoft is nowhere near Steam, but they gotta have something,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how much like at anytime you're only focused on your own first party content, it's just gonna limit the amount of potential you have. Now you're gonna have people like I'm I would have probably subscribed before Far Cry came out. Right?
Hmm.
Because I'm like, okay, $60 or pay 15. You know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
play Far Cry. But then afterwards there's like a long wait for Ubisoft games, and I already own all the old ones. So at that point I'm just like, I'm not gonna pay $15 a month for nothing. I'm already, especially if you already beat the game.
Right.
Right? So at that point, it's like that's where the service kind of fails from these like first party offerings. And I feel like they need to be part of something bigger
Yeah.
in order to really have any impact or growth. Because you're not going to I don't know many people that are going to pay $15 a month just for Ubisoft games. Now, the EA thing, when it first hit Xbox, it was only like $3 a month,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It was like 30, it's like $30 available right now, I think, for a year. Okay. But with that, you get the 10% discounts, you get the vault,
Yep.
and you had the 10-day trials. So based on the fact that I knew I was making my money back, and so it was a no-brainer because it made sense value-wise, right? Whenever I sign up for any of these subscriptions, it's either like, am I getting something that I could not get otherwise? Hence, like Disney Plus, HBO Max, stuff like that, exclusive content, right? Stuff that I'm interested in. Or is it saving me money? And Game
Right.
Pass saves me money, right? And it also gives me stuff that I like, a chance to try things I never would have before. That's the thing about the Ubisoft thing and these other ones that we'll probably see in the future, and like the EA one that's $15, whatever, however much it costs. It's like, is it really saving me money? Because I may have not bought all of those Ubisoft games or really been interested in
Yeah.
some of them, only at one or two of them, right? And $15 a month, what does that equate to? That's $180 a year,
Mm.
roughly,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um, at that point,
But
I'm like,
potentially,
it,
but potentially you could be saving that because for the next 12 months, what Ubisoft game is coming out?
right. Yeah, so like I would be more inclined to use it for a couple months, or like if you're on the fence about a game, subscribe to it, play it, and then later buy the games when they get cheaper, because like they get Ubisoft games get discounted pretty quickly,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know. So I don't know, man. I just kind of like, I feel like the service as a whole, it's cool that it's coming, but and this isn't only for Ubisoft. This is for any of these third-party publishers that only focus on their own content. They got to be a part of something bigger, right? So you either got to have a discount that allows you to bundle it on, add on, like cable providers have always had, like where you add on this content, add on this content, add on this content, or like they're doing now with Disney Plus and ESPN and Hulu and all these things, offer one package, right? Otherwise, I don't really see the growth, too much of a growth potential for Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah.
And that goes for EA if they ever do it. That goes for Take Two. That goes for all of these.
Mhm.
Unless they dramatically increase their output of games. Because you look at what Game
Yeah.
Pass Ultimate offers for $15 a month. You look at what Ubisoft Plus offers for $15 a month. There is no comparison there.
And that goes back to what I was saying. Like, they dropped the ball big time, because they would have did this last year. Oh, baby. Everybody would have been jumping on it.
Yeah.
Everybody would have been jumping on it. But y'all coming out now, and it's like, what do y'all have coming out? And y'all have so many potential games. We just got the announcement of Splinter Cell, Prince of Persia out there somewhere. I don't know where, but it's out there somewhere. Maybe we'll see that one day, whenever they fix whatever issue they was having. Then this whole Assassin's Creed thing, like, it's just so many. They have so many strong names, and people love the old Ubisoft. This new Ubisoft, I think they kind of losing people, but people love the old Ubisoft, and I just feel like, hey, if y'all would have just dropped this day one with the Series X or the PS5, people would have been all over Assassin's Creed, Immortal, Just Dance. Every year Just Dance drop. People love Just Dance, somehow, some way. Just Dance always find their way at E3 or some type of press conference. So people love they Just Dance. It's like, y'all dropped the ball. And if they drop this service tomorrow and like it's available X amount of dollars, it could be $10. I said $10 is my comfortable mark, but it could be $10. If they drop it tomorrow, I still probably wouldn't get it right now, because all the games y'all have, I already bought. I already have it.
Yeah, that's my same problem too. Like, I got Far Cry, I got this, I got that, and then so
like, it's like I'm handing y'all money for what? Like, I'm not getting nothing in return until I see the homie Elite said something like, they might announce something at E3, or Summerfest or whatever. And it's like, they might, well, not might, they will, but when is it coming out is the problem. So do I start this subscription in February paying $10, $12, $15 a month to get a game that's coming out in September, October? So that's the problem right there. That's the problem I'm having with this right now.
Yeah,
I think we're spoiled by how much Game Pass gives us. Also, like, if you look at dollars for value, like, you could make a sense. Okay, it's like it about evens out with something like Ubisoft, but like Game Pass is like so in our favor. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
every month, not every month at this point, damn near every week you're hearing something about Game Pass, honestly.
Yeah, including Ubisoft and Rainbow Six Extraction is coming day one, right? You know what I mean? So
there you go.
For Honor's been in there, the Division's been in there. I mean, here's the thing. I think this is going to mean closer ties between Ubisoft and Xbox. Obviously, they gotta have they have a shared goal here, right? They want to push the subscription model. They want it to be successful for their games. And that's one of the reasons, like Ubisoft said, they're putting that on Xbox and Game Pass is Rainbow Six Extraction, because they believe in the subscription model and they want to show that, right? Like, so it's interesting to see where this is going. Regardless of what any of us have ideas for, the one thing we can all agree on 100% is that subscription models is the future.
Absolutely.
And PlayStation knows it. Nintendo's even doing it with their back compat now, right? And that's horrible value. I'm sorry. That's like
get them.
That's like the worst. Like, hey, how much is it again? It's like, is it $15 a month
or something?
I think it is 15. I think it is.
There's a 60 for the year. I don't know. I don't freaking know.
I think it was like 60 or 80 for the year.
Okay, so if you regardless, do the monthly, man, you're just making people pay for like the back compat like that. Like, I don't know, man. Like, a lot of those games we had bought on the Virtual Console on Wii. You know what I mean? Like, and we don't have access to it anymore unless you go back and get a Wii again. Like, I don't know, man. That's the way. Nintendo, they're embracing the subscription model as well. They're testing it out. So we'll see some stuff there too in the future. I can guarantee you that.
Nintendo is 80 for the year?
80 for the year? So that's what, like, that includes the That includes the
Sega and
64 games and stuff, and the Genesis games. And
I don't know. I was looking at the chat. See, now I'm curious because
yeah, I
Jesus,
think it
Nintendo.
does include the Genesis and their Nintendo 64, as well as I think you get like Animal Crossing Seasons or whatever that last DLC I think might be included in that 80.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like paying monthly to play Nintendo 64 games is just fucking crazy to me. Like I don't know. I could foresee, you know, new Nintendo games paying, you know, like let's see that. Like they do it with like I guess, you know, like the Tetris 99 and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
like I don't know. What about putting their big games? You know, they don't have enough big releases every year to even make that worth it anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do they got? 2 games come out? That's like a huge
they
Nintendo
average,
first
like,
party game.
Yeah, 2 a year.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I mean, at
There's
launch
no-
they
they-
usually have a good bit more, but it's like they
There's no
average
answer.
out to about
I
2.
think we all struggling to answer that one.
There's
I
no
apologize.
answer, man. Maybe they're gonna be the one that's just the outcast and the outlier and just does things their own way for forever, and people just eat it up, and that's fine. You know, I think that there's definitely good things for that. Like, you know, it's keeping physical media alive, right? People are buying cartridges for their Switches a lot. The Switches are selling a lot. It's keeping the handheld market like really strong and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And they're coming out with some good looking games. Metroid Dread was a really great game last year.
Yeah, that was the big one last year.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm excited for Project Triangle this year. Like, yeah, I'm curious what their next thing is going to be. That's going to be the big. I can't wait till we can have a show where we get to discuss what's next for Nintendo, because eventually it's got to happen.
Yeah.
Like something, they're eventually it will. Like they can't just sell the Nintendo Switch for 10 years. Maybe they can.
They can, and they would. Come
They'll
on,
try.
Look, we all gamers, so we read the news. We try and keep up with it. Everybody's seen how much the Nintendo Switch have sold.
Oh, it's crazy.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like it's mind blowing because.
But is it mind blowing when you compare it to like 3DS numbers and stuff like that and Game Boy? You know,
right?
It's not at that point.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah. It's Nintendo is in, you know, and no shade against my Nintendo lovers out there. Let me put that out there.
Yeah.
You know, no shade against you guys, you know, because at the end of the day, still video games, and we all love video games. You know, we always talk about that. Like, we want to see Nintendo just do better. And, you know, maybe because we not into the handheld world like that, you know, but with that being said, Nintendo need to do something. Mario Kart 9 is not going to carry Nintendo for, well, maybe they will carry them for a year or so.
So they got Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 coming.
Zelda, that's another game people hoping to get this year, which chances are might not be this year because it's supposed to be last year. And it's like, you know, we just want Nintendo to do good. But overall, I don't think Nintendo need to do any type of streaming deals at this moment. Like no service deals. I don't want to see a Ubisoft on Nintendo. I don't want to see Game Pass on Nintendo. Nintendo need to focus on Nintendo. That's just me. Nintendo need to focus on Nintendo, you know, because Nintendo have all the games. They have the resource. They got
a lot of money. They got
a ton of money
they're making on those Switches.
Yeah,
you know,
the amount of money especially from in-house. You know, it's like, come on now, Nintendo. Come on now. I will always stand by this. If Nintendo really gets serious and really want to compete with Xbox and PlayStation, get really serious, I feel like Xbox and PlayStation will be in trouble because Nintendo just have that much, you know, that backlog alone is amazing.
Well, they got that family name too, right? Like,
and that's it. The name alone.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about how much PlayStation have done, Xbox have done. I'm not talking about the Wii. You know, I know the Wii changed the game a little bit. I'm not talking about the Wii. I'm just talking about the Nintendo brand itself. And Nintendo just decided to get serious and drop like a real hardcore console. It could be portable. They have the resource. They can make it portable, you know, but just the console itself, man, I'm telling y'all, Xbox and PlayStation will be in trouble.
I think the next Switch is going to push things, right? The next, whatever it is, because I think they've caught on to something with themselves that, you know, this hybrid handheld / console thing is extremely successful. So I think that's going to be the direction they continue to go. The question is, well, how will they market it? Will they market it well so people understand it's different? That's how they failed with the Wii U, right?
Right.
Because the Wii was extremely successful. The Wii U, a lot of people didn't understand that it was even a new console. The casual people, like people that were into gaming news and all this stuff, we knew what it was, but like a family that just walking through the store, it didn't catch on. The name wasn't different enough. Like, so unless they name it Switch 2, right? Or they name it like something completely different, I don't know. Like, they need to make sure they market it properly. But I do think it's going to be a huge step forward when they do it. And maybe that's why we didn't get it this year with the chip shortages and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But hey, Fuzzy, do you foresee a future where Nintendo has a subscription for their games?
I do, but it's going to depend on this weird. It's going to depend on this weird prediction that I'm having with Nintendo's next device being a virtual or a VR headset kind of thing.
Yeah.
As crazy as it may sound, I get this gut feeling.
They tried it before, Fuzzy.
Yeah. And I think now the technology is there and the wherewithal and the programming is there. And I could totally see them being that mainstream go-to headset as far as for gaming. Like PlayStation dipped their toe in it and they did really well for what they put out there. But I can see Nintendo being the breakout. Like they just have a knack for, you know, cornering a market when people weren't even expecting it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I could see them, you know, the next Switch just being like a VR Switch or VR whatever they want to call it, just not Game Boy VR.
What if they name it Wii VR?
Yeah, Wii VR.
Jesus, no.
and
oh my goodness,
it would probably sell like gangbusters because they'll have
the Wii is cool back. If they just like had one commercial that just broadcast during the Super Bowl or something, and it's just like one of their CEOs step in front and just said, Nintendo is bringing back the Wii, like you've never seen it before, introducing Wii VR, and then show the VR headset, and then show some like mind-blowing stuff, and then just cut the commercial like 20 seconds.
The internet would break instantly at that point. Yeah. People trying to figure out, well, when's the pre-order date? What?
Exactly. Yeah. It would sell out within seconds, guaranteed. I'll put money on it. Especially during the Super Bowl. Yes.
Yeah. But I could see them doing a subscription for that, like with it being a, you know, Wi-Fi friendly headset as well. It's like, oh, well, you could have like 128 gig storage, or you can have 256 gig storage, and, you know, you download these games, which, you know, average between 8 to 20 gigs type of deal, and, you know, sign up for our service, and yeah, you'll have to rebuy all your games again, but at least they'll be tied to that headset. And yeah, I could see them doing a subscription for that. It's like you could either buy the headset outright and then buy the games individually, like where the headset's like $400 or whatever, or you could buy like the bundle deal where it's like for the next 2 years for $600, you get the headset and access to their back catalog with the subscription being billed monthly type of thing for 2 years. So
yeah, all you got to do is say VR Mario.
That's it. Can y'all imagine? Hey, okay.
Mario Kart 9 VR.
There we go, baby. You took the words out of my mouth. Could
Yeah,
you
I
imagine
knew what you were
Mario?
gonna say.
Man, nah, that I might be on board with. I won't lie to you guys. You know, you're gonna look up and I'll be streaming some Mario Kart VR going nuts.
Yeah. I know like most parents are okay with their kids using VR and all that kind of stuff, but most of them are rated like 13 plus, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So like, is that going to be a detriment for Nintendo to be like, okay, how can we do it knowing that we may not be able to get it like approved for kids, you know, usage, right? Even though people buy it anyway, you know, and use it anyway.
Parents will buy it and give it to their
Like I got my
household.
daughter a Quest 2, you know, she's 10.
Yep. Yeah. My son got one, he's 11, and I'm telling you, that first week I'll walk past his room and he ain't there. You know, like seriously, he walking around the house with the thing on because it's a little camera in there, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you can see through it, man.
Yeah, but it's pretty sweet.
But I'm with you on this, Fuzzy. I think that whoever comes out with a true competitor to Oculus Quest, because Oculus Quest, the magic of that is you don't need a PC, you don't need a console. It's a standalone experience, right? And if Nintendo or Xbox or PlayStation, whoever eventually comes out with one of these, where it's like you got all of your entertainment apps, you got your like, you can imagine the Miiverse with the fucking VR. Okay, you remember the Miiverse? You know, like okay, so it's kind of like they were already onto this, but they didn't have the tech at the time because the Wiimotes, all that stuff, you know, it was kind of like this. If they implemented all that right, I could foresee this because they could have it standalone, you know. And imagine
how many times would you get disconnected from online from playing?
That's true. But what
what
if you could dock it? and then you got like a traditional console.
And see, that's the thing right there. And I think that's why Xbox is doing so well from PlayStation, because they decided they wanted to do something outside the box.
Yeah.
And Nintendo always been kind of
outside the box.
So, and that's why we run out and buy it. Let's be honest. You know, I still remember being in bed seeing the Nintendo Switch trailer pop up in the middle of the night for some damn reason. And man, I had to have it. Like Nintendo, they're just good at stuff like that. So for what you're saying, yeah, people will run out and buy it immediately because, like you said, it's a VR. You could do all type of stuff with it, bring it back old games or services. On top of, you could dock it, you know?
Yep.
Like people will go nuts over that.
I foresee this future of Nintendo, Fuzzy. Yeah, I think you've made a believer out of me. Your prediction may come true. It just makes too much sense with this seems so much fun, right?
Yeah.
What about watching movies and TV shows, hangouts, right? That's what VR is hangouts, you know?
Yeah.
For all those kids.
But the problem is they will still need to continue to drop some type of content for it. And Mario's not going to always cut it, to me.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I think they would be able to get third party more on board at that point. Like I think
they would have to.
I think with PlayStation also doing the VR too, I think that might be a signal to a lot of these third party companies out there now to kind of start focusing on VR. Like maybe not your primary AAA games, but at least make something more than just like a half hour or a couple hour experience type of deal. Make like maybe it's a side story type of thing. So instead of it being like a full on Call of Duty with campaign and multiplayer, just do like a smaller campaign that is, ready to go for VR for something along those lines type of deal. But,
interesting. And it comes with a subscription service.
Yeah, there you go. Let's not leave that out.
Switching gears here. I want to get on to our next thing. A couple people keep mentioning this in the chat. Like we're not even on the topic yet, but like I see people come in here and start talking about Days Gone. Like they're just antsy to get their point across or their thoughts. So hey, that's what we're going to talk about now.
Yeah.
Days Gone was a hugely marketed PlayStation release, right? One of their big exclusives for the year that it released, which I believe was in 2019.
Yep.
So 2019, it came out in April, and it got just kind of okay reviews, right? Got mixed feedback. A lot of gamers seem to like it, right? It sold well, but critically, it kind of failed, and then it's like almost like PlayStation at the time started to almost want to distance themselves from the game in a way, or not really. They were too much trying to let it be known that it was a failure in a way. And this has been talked about a couple times. I remember last year some comments made about this from the ex dev developer. His name is Jeff Ross, and then we got some more comments yesterday. After praise of Ghost of Tsushima on by PlayStation after reaching 8 million in sales, Mr. Ross was like, "Hey, like, it's kind of disappointing to see that we didn't get any acknowledgement for 8 million in sales, except that we were just told that we were a big disappointment. That was the feeling we've got after the game released, right? So the question is, being that the game, like, who knows whatever the actual numbers are, because there is some debate on that right now, like how much of it was sales, how much of it was given for free for PlayStation Plus subscribers, and how much of it's on Steam, PlayStation, all that doesn't matter. Regardless, one thing we can mostly agree on is that the game did sell fairly well, especially for a console exclusive. What is it with PlayStation in this situation? Like, does Jeff Ross, the one of the developers, does he have a reason to be a little bit kind of annoyed, speaking out against PlayStation a little bit? And is this something that here's what stood out to me? Okay, it seems like PlayStation cares more about the scores of their games with Metacritic than it does what the actual fans think about the games. Because this game, after it's hit PS5, it got updated. Again, it had a huge resurgence on there. Even after they gave it away for free with the PlayStation Plus thingy. People really like it. In fact, when I had my PS5, I dove into it and I was like, this is actually pretty good. I'm really liking this game, And I feel like maybe the PS4 was a little too like it was too big. It was too much for that system, right? I think a PS5 brought it to life more. But regardless, like, people seem to really like the game. Okay.
Yeah.
And except for PlayStation. And I think it's only because of the 71 that's sitting there on this Metacritic. And I think PlayStation got embarrassed that one of their big exclusives that they put all this marketing and everything behind, they took time on their presentations, all this stuff, got hit with a 71. And I think Jeff Ross is actually kind of onto something here with his comments. Do you think PlayStation cares more about the score, the Metacritic score, or their fans' enjoyment of the games?
I think the Metacritic, at least from a public standpoint or PR standpoint, I think it does hold a decent amount of weight. They want their games to, have this certain standard or emote this certain standard of quality and praise or acceptance, as far as whether it be critical, the critics that normally review games, or even their fan base. But as far as their fan base, I won't say that they're less concerned with how they look at it. It's just what what they can put on the box as far as, oh, if it's a game of the year candidate, or if it's like an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, I think that speaks more volumes to their overall brand, appearance, or the brand, I guess reputation type of deal. As far as people enjoying the game, I'm pretty sure they like that 8 million people played the game. But I something tells me there was a much higher expectation than probably was warranted, given, like you said, the PS4 wasn't probably the best console for releasing that game. Like, it may have been a better move to hold that game for the PS5, given the more stout hardware to run 200 AI enemies chasing you at full speed on screen without it crashing, or having it where you fall through the map, or making the motorcycle disappear or something. So it's I don't know. I feel bad for that team, especially all the work, blood, sweat, and tears that they put into that game, for them to kind of get crapped on by upper management. But yet everybody from the get-go loved Ghost of Tsushima, which that was like my game of the year a couple of years ago. So I can see, it. I wouldn't say it's sour grapes on Jeff's part, but it definitely seems like Sony didn't make a good call per se. I won't say it's not even a good call. They probably could have set their expectations more reasonable, given that this game was probably a bit more ambitious, and it being a bigger release for this studio. They probably should have kept expectations a little bit more in check, possibly given it more time for polish to make sure, some of those criticisms that got it down to like a 71 were for some of the bugs where you were falling through the map, or you're riding an invisible motorcycle, or things crashing, as far as when you're being chased by all the zombies and stuff like that. So I don't know. They didn't do themselves any favors in that regard, as far as Sony as a whole. But they've kind of had that situation with other games, like Drive Club kind of ran through the same thing, although they wound up eventually closing that studio. They had that indie that was like a timed exclusive with No Man's Sky that they kind of distanced themselves from as well, when things didn't quite go as originally planned, type of deal. But yeah, Metacritic probably too high on the evaluation list for upper management at PlayStation, especially on a new IP, because that you're already fighting an uphill battle on a new IP, no matter who's making it, type of thing.
Yeah, I agree, man. Just for the record, is so if you Google like Halo Infinite sales at the top, like it's on Google search, it does say 81 million, but that's just like referring to articles that were written about Halo's lifetime sales. Just for clarification in the chat, so lifetime, the Halo franchise as a whole has sold over 81 million before Halo Infinite's release. If Halo Infinite sold 80 million copies, that would be like the craziest, biggest, most insane gaming news ever.
That will be up there with the.
There's been nothing's ever had that even close to it that soon after launch. Yeah. It's.
I mean, it took GTA some time to get to where they are.
Yeah,
like 3 generations.
Yeah, GTA 5 now. There's like a 300 something million or something.
345 million.
Crazy, Yep.
But as far as like Halo goes, the lifetime of the franchise is 80 million, which is really good.
Yeah.
which is really good for something that's always usually been a console exclusive. But like, if you put in, okay, so let's say that this game sold 8 million, that puts it in perspective as well. That's really good for a console exclusive. Now, it also did move to Steam and sold well on Steam, but like
they moved another million at least on Steam, didn't they?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, the game continues to sell.
as well, right? It's thought of from fans as a good game. In fact, on Metacritic, it has a 8 something from user score, as opposed to the 71 from. So where I'm going with this is like, okay, what I worry about with PlayStation is that this is mattered so much to them to actually cause issues with the devs, where the devs never even found out how much the game sold, right? It matters so much to them with the devs about what the score was, seeing it as a disappointment and all of these things, that it kind of ignored anything else. And are they only interested in making a certain type of game that can get a 90 plus on Metacritic? Because there's a lot of genres and a lot of different types of games that people like to play that maybe aren't going to be the critical darlings. And if you're only reserving your budget for specific things just to hit that 90, just to have bragging rights about that and to sell the prestige of your brand, then maybe you're losing sight of what people actually want to do is just play games. Right. That doesn't mean that they need to abandon making great blockbuster single player games like that at all. But to call a game like that that's been really successful like a disappointment, or to make the devs feel like it was, I think they deserved a sequel. I think people would like that. I don't know. It's kind of weird, man. Xbox. This is one thing about Xbox. They don't have that problem. That's for sure. Because they've had a lot of those in the past that have been in the 70s and stuff. And maybe they do be like, okay, yeah, it didn't really hit like we wanted to, but they don't seemingly make the devs feel like it was such a failure and go on and kind of abandon that game franchise now. In fact, they tend to stay with the franchise and make the next one better. Is kind of what they've done. And then support the game over time to make the game better. So I kind of found it strange. I'm gonna read. This is straight from Jeff Ross's Twitter. Okay. He says, at the time I left Sony, Days Gone had been out for a year and a half and sold over 8 million copies. It's gone on to sell more and then 1 million plus on Steam. Local studio management always made us feel like it was a big disappointment. That's kind of strange to me. I don't know. And maybe it's just him, and maybe he's insecure about the people or something that at the studios. Maybe he's just a character. I don't know, man. Akid, where does this sit with you? Does this matter, you think? Or
hi.
Oh, hey, bud.
My little one. He always love coming in here. Here, go get mommy. Bye bye. But no, here's my thing.
Cute kid.
Bye bye. So, it's so many different ways you could read into this. Like you said, is he a character? Is it bad blood? Did something really happen between the two? It's like there's only so much we know, and I don't know. It's kind of eye opening. I was trying to talk to my wife about this. That's what she went to school for. She went to school for accounting and law. So I was just asking her, when a company do some type of selling a product or whatever, what exactly are they looking for to get back besides some type of revenue? She knows nothing about video games, so that didn't go well. But the conversation was interesting because, when we was talking, she was like, well, sometimes companies look to put out a product and then to continue making money off this name other ways. So Ghost of Tsushima, if you think about it, if they would have came out with a costume for Halloween, people would have bought it because of the game and how popular it is, which means Sony would have got a kickback. Do that kind of make sense? Mm-hmm. Or stuff like that. So she was saying, that could be perhaps the reason why in this particular situation happened. Because I'm like, 8 million, that's still a lot. That's still a lot of people that play this game. Like I think it's still pretty damn good. Whether it's Days Gone or Ghost of Tsushima, it's like, man, 8 million in like a year and a half window, 2 years max. That's pretty good, I think. But again, we not at the table. We don't know how much money they need to back to, cover the expenses plus revenues, and we just don't know. But I was more so disappointed at reading this article because let me pull it up, because I have looked up other games, right? Other games that have sold fairly decent or just a crazy amount they first run around. And the second run around, they did okay, or reviews wasn't the best or whatnot, but yet still looking to make a third game or so. So one of the games I pulled up, of course, and this is my own personal thing right here. I pulled up Red Dead Redemption. Everybody loved Red Dead Redemption 1. Everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. Red Dead dropped. A lot of people loved it, but some people still had certain issues. We talked about this before. Like, I bought it day one, I streamed it, and I didn't go back to it because I just couldn't get off into it. Like, it just felt off and weird. Mm-hmm. But Red Dead still sold a crazy amount. Red Dead 1, according to Google, I don't know if this is accurate or not, Red Dead Redemption sold freaking 60 million units. 60 million.
Yeah. I love that. That was like my game of the generation on the 360.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's crazy. But I was trying to find something off of Red Dead 2, and I could not find it, which is odd. But they was talking about, like, when it first came out, like that first year, sold like 17 million copies and all this other stuff. I couldn't find an accurate number, but this is what I wanted to go off of, just showing an example, because the name Red Dead had to start from somewhere. And like you said, that was just your generation. That was the game of the generation or whatnot. And what's cookies? Sorry about that, you guys. He's talking about some cookies. So it's like,
so it's supposedly right now it's hit 39 million is the last number.
39 million.
I have as of November of 2021.
So is that considered a fail then?
No,
like
definitely not.
Like it's stuff like that. You just want to, like, come on now, like 8 million on this one game, but 8 million on this other game. Like, that doesn't mean doesn't deserve a part 2, part 3, or series. Like, it has so much potential. Like, Days Gone had so much potential. I picked it up day one, of course. I played it. Couldn't continue it because it was on the PS4. I hate the PS4 fan. A lot of games I didn't play because of how loud the PS4 is. But the moment I did play, I enjoyed it. Yeah, they downgraded a little bit from when they first showed that E3 to the actual game, but I don't think it's as bad as what Sony, quote unquote, Sony make it seem like. Again, it could just be bad blood between the two. It could be a chip on somebody's shoulder, or they part ways on bad terms. Who knows? But Ghost of Tsushima, it did get great scores. People talked about it. People loved it. I've been seeing people get tattoos, all type of stuff. Plus, we need to also remember, Ghost of Tsushima, they released their game twice to get to 8 million. Like, and if I'm not mistaken, eventually you got to come to PC, right? So that will be 3 times this game will have to release, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where this devs come from, because as far as he was concerned, it's like, okay, Ghost of Tsushima is getting all this praise and everything, and the only difference is the Metacritic. Really,
that's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's
as
like,
far as
but
reviewers, like, that's why I'm like, this PlayStation cared too much about, like, I understand meta matters, right? Because you're pushing a brand, you're pushing reviews, and it's gonna, people are gonna say, oh, that game's scored well, that's another win for PlayStation, and all this kind of stuff, right? But ultimately, if people enjoy it and it's successful, then does meta really matter? You know?
And that's the thing. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, I guess it's all about how can they make more money off of this game. Now I'm thinking it's more of a money thing. You know, to me, I think it's more of a money thing. Like I said, Ghost of Tsushima, they drop a part 2. You know, there's already rumors out there that there's another one. You know, Sucker Punch is somewhat starting to writing or something about it. I don't know, but I have seen rumors over the past week that they're already pursuing to make a part 2.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that goes back to, like you said, what is considered a successful game, like Metacritic, or how many copies they sell, or how much money you can make off this product, off other products, you know, on cereal boxes or whatever. Like, I don't know. But overall, I feel like, especially since Days Gone had came back around on PC, I think it's beginning to see a lot more love than it did when it first came out. You know? And that right there, I think, is definitely worth looking into a potential part 2 or maybe a DLC or something. Like, I never beat the game, so I don't know how it ended. I don't know if everybody died, they lived. I don't know.
Cliffhanger or something at the end.
Yeah. So it's like, if the potential is there and people talking about it and people enjoying it, or people rebought it on Steam, it's like, why not look into it? Now, I don't know if they will now because of the bad blood between the two. But and plus, if I'm not mistaken, what's his name again?
Jeff Ross.
Yes, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he's already dipping his toe in another game, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. I'd have to do some more research on that. But
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I came across a couple days ago. Like, he's already in a process of making something else, but still, it's just messed up, because again, the reason I brought up Red Dead is like, what is considered a failure and what is considered successful? You know, like, it's messed up because it's just not about these two games. It's about all games, and why you don't see a part 2, or you don't see a part 3, or why you don't see a DLC, or whatever the case might be. Because sometimes these companies do be like, you sold 10 million copies, you was 1 million short, so we just gonna kill the dream right here. Thanks, but no thanks. And it's like, you know, though the fans love it, or it's getting good reviews again, or whatever the case might be, you know, it's like,
that's the thing with Days Gone. It's like the fans like it, and it sold well. So if that isn't the two most ultimate like ways of having success, I don't know what is, right?
And that's the thing right there, because one made more noise than the other. That doesn't mean one failed, you know. I mean,
right? Like, and that comes from the disappointment of the Metacritic, right? And the negativity at the time because of the reviews. Oh, it's not doing well, and this is like a bandwagon thing too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Somebody puts that out, like, oh, this is like a PlayStation doesn't know what they're doing right now. This is a bad game that PlayStation put out. Blah 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 blah. And it kind of, the next reviewer is like, okay, I'm gonna review it the same. Now, I will say that performance-wise, a lot of the issues I heard about the first one was frame rate and stuff like that. Really kind of killed the game. But like playing on PS5, I mean, it's freaking solid game, and I've watched a lot of people playing it, and they talk about how much they enjoy it too. Fuzzy, do you think that like is it like a mindset of like prestige that like PlayStation feels like their tentpole games have to score like 85 plus, or what did it actually, it goes to Tsushima got like 83, I think 84, even though that game deserves way higher. My opinion. I think Days Gone deserves way higher too than it got, but what is their idea of success, you know?
Yeah, I think there is a level of prestige that they have as far as expectations. And it's funny, I think Shizno said it in the chat earlier. It's like, if Sony had this same mentality early on of like the PlayStation 2 and 3 and stuff, would we have an Uncharted 4? Would we even have an Uncharted series? Like, Uncharted 1 didn't do.
Yeah, well, we have an Uncharted movie.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they gave that game, you know, the breath to you know, try again, work on some of the areas of criticism and it made for a much better game in Uncharted 2. So I don't know. Sometimes Sony seems like they're the geniuses when it comes to some of the games that they release and stuff. And then other times it just seems like, why did you guys kill that franchise? It seemed like there's a demand for it, or there's a fan base that is willing to give you money. And if that's what we're in business for, you want to at least cater to that customer line.
That's why I was talking about Fuzzy like earlier, like maybe they are looking to make money versus you know, like we don't want to just make money off of the video game now. We want to make money off the name. And Uncharted right there is a great example. You know, how can we take Uncharted, the video game, and continue making money off of this name? Let's drop a movie. They did the same thing with The Last of Us. How can we continue making money off the name The Last of Us? Let's make an HBO series, you know, and like I said, now there's rumor, you know, Ghosts coming out with a part 2, you know. Who knows? We might see a series on that. If The Last of Us do well, they might want to branch off and make a Ghost series. So it's crazy. But go ahead, Fuzzy. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. You're right on point when it comes to like they definitely want to monetize their IPs as best they can, and Sony is that entertainment business where they can do music, they can do movies, they can do video games, and if they can branch off into all of those avenues with their IPs, I'm pretty sure they're going to try to capitalize as best they can. But it just seems like it's almost like I know there's a few fans out there as far as in gaming that are, you know, a bit worn when it comes to zombie games, or they've grown a bit tired of zombie games. But there's still a lot of us that still enjoy just shooting zombies or fighting zombies or running away from zombies or anything along those lines. Like there is a bit of fatigue at times, and maybe those that, you know, make the decisions also have that similar fatigue, because it just seems like old Sony would have at least given them a chance to redeem themselves and say, okay, well, the biggest criticism was your launch. We could have done some things to kind of, you know, fix that. Maybe the hardware wasn't the right match. Now we have the hardware and this game is running fine. Build from that. Build on, you know, having maybe more of a narrowed focus on the world itself, so you don't have to do as much exploring or scavenging and things like that. And, you know, have more of those set pieces with the zombie or the freakers, I should say, chasing you and things like that. And I think a Days Gone 2 at that point is a game that probably sells 8 million in the first 4 weeks type of deal, and goes on to sell 10 million plus. But we won't know for price quite some time, probably not until like a PS6, if they even bother to retain that IP and try to revive it type of thing. But you know, I look at some other games, although yes, they probably cost a lot less to make. One of them wasn't a first party studio at the time when they made it. Like Returnal, I think it only sold 600,000 on opening month or so. And so far, I think sales are less than 2 mil, but that's considered a great success. I mean, it's a great game and all, but it's also one of those things where the barometer, I guess, changes based on how much they spent on the studio making the game. But, you know, 8 million should have been enough, even if it's not full on sales because of the, you know, PS Plus and whatnot.
According to Google, they were saying Returnal. Actually, this ain't Google. This Bing. What the hell I'm doing on here? I need to go to Google. I get the hell. According to Bing, right? Let me get them points. They were saying Returnal as of July 18th, which this is not updated, but July 18th, we was looking at over 560,000 copies sold of Returnal.
Better reviewed well.
Yeah. So, and again,
I'm pretty sure we're going to see a sequel.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna probably see 2 more Returnals.
Yeah.
You know, even Ratchet and Clank, you know, they was saying, according to this, you know, 1.1 million copies as of June 11th. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. With PlayStation, it's weird.
So then part of me is like, is this all just coming from the dev?
Right, you know, bad blood.
Maybe it wasn't like just the way he felt. You know, maybe there was some internal meetings where we're talking about that it didn't review well, and he's just like too much in his head. You know, and he just like goes to work every day in a bad mood because his game didn't review well, and he's like thinking about it all the time, and it kind of ruins his time there. I mean, I'm not saying that's what happened. You know what I mean? But like, it seems like he's a little bitter, right? I mean, to go and make this tweet after in quote tweet, I think it was somebody praising Ghost of Tsushima's 8 million in sales. He goes on to make this quote tweet about feeling like we were a disappointment. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously he's a little bitter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't do something like that, former employers and stuff, you know, like willy-nilly, you know.
But this topic has kind of come up before.
It has.
Where it was when we first heard that there wasn't going to be a Days Gone 2, they pitched it and they were like, nope, you guys are going to work on a new IP. Oh, in the meantime, you're going to help, you know, Sony Santa Monica, or you're going to help, you know, what do you call them, work on their other games that they're working on now, as opposed to being, you know, a first party. You're kind of like a support studio in the meantime kind of thing. So it may just be that since he's no longer employed there, he's willing to open up, because you're not really going to open up too much on social media if you're still collecting a paycheck and working and hoping to keep your employment at that studio. But some sour grapes there, I'm pretty sure, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire. I'm pretty sure it just seems like Ben Studios just kind of got the raw end of the deal. And I kind of chalk it up as like too high of an expectation for upper management, or maybe Sony, you know, headquarters type of thing. Because they're like, oh, well, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn, that was a new IP and that did phenomenally well. And, you know, Ghost of Tsushima, that was a new IP and that did phenomenally well. This did okay. We're not fine with okay. We're expecting exceptional, you know, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10s, you know, game of the year nominations and things along those lines. So it's like, you got a solid game. It just didn't meet the extra criteria to get, you know, funded for a sequel. So it's like, you guys will get a chance to try it again on a new IP. Just, you know, stick to the support role for, you know, these next couple of games that these other
so
check studios are making.
So check this. According to Bing, let me make sure I say that because I don't know what Google have. Fuzzy. So Horizon, 7.6 million copies worldwide. Okay. And actually this is look like this from the PlayStation blog, if I'm not mistaken. I clicked on it and it's spinning, so I don't know. Hopefully I don't get a virus. Yep. So it's from the PlayStation blog that and see, this was back in February of 18. So that's interesting. That's a nice amount if it's from February 2018. I might need to get off Bing. I need to go to Google. But my point is, I need to see how much they sold, because now not only they're coming out with a part 2, but now they get the VR, because you know, that was a surprise a few days ago when they announced the VR. So apparently this game had to sell well enough to the point where it's like, hey, let's make a VR game and a part 2, you know, and I don't know, it's crazy. It's just crazy how they work. I'm kind of with Mav here. It's like, is it bad blood? Is it jealousy? You know, like, what's really going on here? Like, do word of mouth sell games or do Metacritic sell games? You know, that's the real question here.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. We don't know what the actual sales numbers are, because like supposedly, like he says he stands by his numbers for his sales. He even made
he did make that tweet. So I stand by what I said.
I mean, when you say like Horizon Forbidden West only sold like 7.5, and he's claiming 8 when the time he left PlayStation, I don't know how accurate those numbers.
They're right.
You know, like just the math doesn't add up. No, regardless, say it doesn't really matter. I mean, being that we're even close to that, I mean, it's still successful in my eyes. Like you see, like you said, Returnal was like, it's going to be 1 million maybe at some point here soon,
give or take.
Right? So like, success is in the eye of the beholder. I just question after this whole fiasco, what if the beholder in this case is right, and that beholder is PlayStation, right?
Right.
And they hold the rights to the IP. They can do with it what they please. And I think that maybe they made a mistake on this just based on people's critics' opinions. Because ultimately, that's all that meta is. Meta is flawed. It is heavily flawed. You have journalists piggybacking off of other people's opinions and on their own ideas. You have a lot of journalists reviewing games and never even finished them. You have games get reviewed before they get updates and patches, and the games like a month later are way different than they were at launch. Now, is it fair to to be docked for that? Yes, but like that score stands there for the test of time. Whereas the game could be a different experience in a week. You know what I mean? So over time, I feel like Days Gone has proven to be a good, successful game that a lot of people really enjoy. And I am with them on this, that it seems like they've just, because of this stupid 71 on Metacritic, PlayStation sees it as a failure. So we'll see, man. I mean, Meta just needs to fucking die.
It does. It does. Like, I'm all for expressing your opinion, but that's the problem right there. You know, it's like, where are these scores really coming from? Where do you? Let's be real. How many accounts do you need to make to freaking go on there? I can make 10 damn accounts on Metacritic, and they go my 10 right there and just shit on every, every game that, it's like, come on, I'm with you. Like, they need to get rid of Metacritic. I'm all for it, just to give your opinions and, gamer wise, one gamer to another, just give your opinion. But they take that way too far. They take that to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I think even some of the dev team's bonuses are pretty much tied to some of those scores.
Yes.
So it really sucks if that's like, you missed it by 1 point.
To some kid's opinion that just got out of college and is just trying to make up a story for Days Gone and get clicks on an article. I mean, that people's pay is justified based on that. So we have, I'm just going to go through some of the reviews, right, from the critics.
Yep.
We have 100 from some body I've never heard of called Daily Star. 96 from Cheat Code Central. 94 from Level Up. 90 from PlayStation Official Magazine UK. 90 from PlayStation Lifestyle. 90 from some place called GameSpew. We have a lot in the 80s. Like a lot of 87s, 85s, 84s, 80s. Escapist gave it an 80. Let's see. Game Rant gave it an 80. DualShockers gave it an 80. They're very PlayStation heavy site. WCCF Tech gave it 84. Worth Playing gave it an 85. So I'm seeing all these scores, right? But here's what's gonna kill it. Okay. We're gonna get into a bunch of 70s, and we're going to get to 65 from IGN. That one stings.
Yeah.
That one stings, right? If you're PlayStation, that's embarrassing, right? Having IGN show up there with the 65. So then we go, like, who reviewed it?
Somebody that's probably not even there anymore.
Lucy O'Brien, right? Which I've heard of her. She does a lot of reviews and stuff. It's just her opinion, right? No, nothing wrong. I'm not saying her opinion's wrong, right? But it's just her opinion. 60 from Destructoid, 55 from EGM. That one stings. 45 from Game Critics, 40 from VGC.
Yeah.
Now, who plays Days Gone and gives it a 40?
I'm curious about that one. I want to read that one. I'm more curious about why so low. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I understand when you have
30
like, game-breaking bugs and you're taking into account the playable state of it at that given moment, but it should be like kind of like an asterisk, like, oh, as of this date, there isn't a day one patch, or there is a day one patch in the works. Our current score based on the breaks, it's 40, but we will, reevaluate at a later date or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish more games kind of got that pass or that second review, although I understand given how time sensitive things can be, and people having to go back is not always an option. I can get that, but man.
But just to throw out there, because you mentioned bugs, just throw out there, Cyberpunk got a 9 out of 10 on IGN.
Yeah.
With all of its bugs.
This
all its bugs, baby.
This one article from some place called Slant Magazine gave it a 30. And it's weighted on the Metacritic.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, like, okay, what makes this person's opinion, this 30, different from this other person's opinion that gave it 100?
Yeah.
It's just an opinion, right? And it seems like at times when negativity starts kind of permeating about a game, you kind of sense that a lot of the reviewers could kind of get skewed that way, and then they come out with these crazy low scores. Like a 3 out of 10, that game better be like borderline unplayable, broken, messed
crashes
up,
the dashboard
janky
every time you start
ass mess, right? But it's weighted here in their Metacritic, in the 71. I'm just saying, like, the meta is very objective, and it shouldn't be used to judge from a perspective from publishers themselves the success of a game.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that 100% that they did, but it really feels that way because the other metrics of success, they really hit the check mark on sales and gamer feedback. So anyway, just found that really interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was like, hey, what else do we want to talk about? And you brought that up, Key. So
yeah, it's just crazy how that kind of escalated over the past week. Honestly, like, man, it's sad because it just really makes you sit down and wonder why your favorite game did not get, some type of remake or remaster or Splinter Cell.
And it comes
Splinter
down to
Cell.
Slant Magazine dude that just had an opinion and gave it a 30. You know what I mean? Like, and people like that. That's why it may not get a sequel. Because if those 40s and those 30s and those couple 50s were gone, you have a lot of 80s, a lot of 90s. A lot of people really liked it.
Yeah, it's crazy, but we will never know. Honestly, we will never know.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Shout out to Army Veteran. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you very much, sir. Says, what's up, Mav and panel? Mav, one day we need to go to Poor Richard's. Yeah, we do. That's a breakfast place near us. He lives by me. So, hey, I'll use that $5 and buy you a drink, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it, Army Vet. But hey, guys, this has been a blast. Fuzzy, you got Shot Podcast coming up here. So why don't we go ahead and get on out of here and tell people where they can find you tonight, and also, what is it on Tuesday? No, Wednesdays. Is it Wednesdays? Thursdays.
Well, Mondays and Fridays.
Fridays.
Well, it's been awesome talking with you guys and catching up with you guys again. It was awesome to have the holiday break and everything with family and friends and whatnot. And it's great to be back here talking our favorite hobby of gaming and stuff like that. For anybody interested in my ramblings on social media, you can follow me at Twitter at @fuzzy_Belvedere, Xbox Live Fuzzy Space Belvedere, PSN Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also catch me later tonight on the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Pong Soul, and Centurion 1307 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel. You can also find me sometimes on Mondays with Mav on Fun Speculations channel here, doing tidbits, going over the game releases of the week. And now, as of officially yesterday, you can also find me on Fridays on the Breakfast with Boom with Mr. Boomstick, also with Dreadpool and Crispy Bomb, and on occasion BitCloud Gaming, just discussing the weekend news on gaming, just before the weekend, before everybody gets on their console. And definitely looking forward to next Saturday at 6 p.m. with you guys here again. Man, gaming's getting even more awesome, more than what I expected for this year, and we're only a couple of days in. So, man, great being here.
100%, dude. Appreciate you as always, Fuzzy. Thanks for being here, dude. And Key, I know you're gonna be probably munching on some cookies with your kid there shortly. Where else can we find you, sir?
Of course, you guys can find me here every Saturday doing what we do best, just kicking back, talking games, so always can find me here. If not, I'm on my channel, just Key. I've been slacking a little bit. Work has been kicking my butt, and just got an email 2 days ago. Look like it's about to kick my butt for another month or 45 days. Yeah, gotta love it. But for the most part, you guys can find me over there on my YouTube channel, or come over to Twitter, talk to me on Gaming Key. And I'm making a lot of changes, and hopefully tonight, just to throw it out there, tonight, we starting off the year right. A lot of games coming out. I have a vision and an idea of what I want to do as far as the channel. But first, I need to play games and beat them before I give my fully opinion.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm going back to play games that I never played, always had, or just trying to complete games before the newer ones come out. And right now, I decided to play Horizon Zero Dawn, actually, for the first time. I bought it.
Nice.
Never played it. We got like 40 days before the new one come out for Forbidden West. So I want to complete this, or I'll be streaming it. And I already completed Dying Light, so I don't need to go back and play Dying Light. But if I had time, I might go back and stream it as well. But it's just something I want to start doing because I want to give more of my opinion. And again, I need to complete these games in order to give my full opinion, and not 20 minutes, an hour or so. So, but yeah, that's where you guys can find me. So if you're around later on tonight, you see me streaming, come jump in, say hi, let's talk some more games,
Heck yeah, dude.
And Fuzzy,
awesome. Yes.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know whose works, you or Pong, with every day y'all on 2 or 3 different shows. Mav, you need to step your game up because these guys are beating you right now. you got to get on some more shows, man.
He's got the whole network. He's got pretty much a network of shows daily. That is awesome, man.
Every day it's like turn on TV and I could catch Mav on here. So you get my respect on that one.
The network is the idea behind Fun Speculation. We'll see it grow over time. We'll see what happens, but appreciate you guys being a part of it every week here on this show and bringing those different takes too. Love the conversations, and everybody in the chat, you guys rock as well. Thank you for being here. First one back in 2022. We'll be back again next week and the week after. And remember, you can check this out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and all those things. If you want to have it in the car while you're on your commute or whatever. And don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you have a chance to leave a review on one of the listening platforms as well, like Spotify, It helps. They have reviews now. You can hit the little thumbs up button there. Apple Podcasts also. But yeah, guys, appreciate you all. And until next week, we'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Later.
Later.